This is Sarah Junick with Drilling Contractor. Today I'm at the 2019 Onshore IADC Conference in Houston. I'm with Byron Pope. He's the Managing Director with Tudor, Pickering, Holt & Company. Byron, thanks for being with us today.
Pleasure to be with you.
How did the fourth quarter last year impact the onshore market for 2019?
Well, the timing of the oil price collapse that we saw in the fourth quarter couldn't have come worse for the E&P industry because the companies were going through their capital budgeting process and trying to figure out what they should do in 2019 from a capital spending perspective. And looking at the crude oil price decline day after day during the course of the fourth quarter resulted in E&P companies taking a very conservative approach to their activities to start the year. So it had a really adverse impact on drilling contractors and on pressure pumping service providers just because of the amount of uncertainty that we saw as we exited last year. So as a result of that, what we saw really in November and December was many of these E&P companies really hit the brakes in terms of activity levels out in the field, particularly on the completion side. So we saw really well completions activity fall off a cliff in November and December and again to start the year. And the impact on the rig industry is we start to see some E&P operators really release some rigs in January and February, but we're thinking we're getting close to the end of that process.
Talk about the trends you see for lateral lengths and super-spec rigs over the next few years.
So we think we're going to see E&P operators continue to press ahead with regard to drilling wells with longer and longer horizontal lateral lengths because it enables them to deploy capital in a much more efficient manner by having these longer horizontal laterals to access more of the well bore and more the horizontal lateral pay with the same well bore. So we think the trend toward lateral lengths will continue to increase, and we actually think 2019 will be the year where we see the average horizontal lateral length reach the 8,000 feet level. And so we think that has positive implications for the U.S. rig market, particularly the super-spec rigs that have the hydraulics capability to really reach these extended horizontal lateral lengths. So at the end of the day, we think it'll be a net positive for super-spec rig demand that E&P operators are continuing to move farther and farther out along the horizontal lateral.
You talked about factors that impact rig count. Can you tell us about what you expect to see in the coming year?
Yeah, so one of the factors that we think will dramatically impact the demand for rigs over the next couple of years is the fact that we think that we're reaching the late innings of well cycle time improvements. And so well cycle times will continue to improve, no doubt, but I think those improvements that we see in well construction cycle times are going to be measured more in hours and minutes as opposed to days and weeks, which was really the case in the early innings of the shale revolution. So the fact that there are diminishing returns to well cycle times, we think is going to result in, if and when E&P operators start to spend more capital, it's going to result in them needing more rigs, right? Because that efficiency per rig, we're starting to max out on that, and it's going to be a net positive, we think, for rig demand over the next few years.
Thanks again for joining us, Byron.
My pleasure.
And thank you for watching drillingcontractor.org.